My name is Threxus, and I have commanded fleets that broke 3 empires. I have watched suns collapse under weaponized gravity wells. I have negotiated surrenders from species who worship war the way your kind worships your children. None of it prepared me for a farm boy named Carter Levi. Holding a rifle, he built himself in a garage in Ohio. Let me back up. The Kryven Compact had been at war with the humans of Earth for 6 standard years by the time I was assigned to Perimeter Station Aurelia Newen, a listening post on the edge of what we called the contested fringe. My orders were simple: monitor human troop movements and report anomalies. Command wanted to know when the Special Forces units were being deployed because those units had annihilated 4 of our garrison worlds in 18 months. We had entire tactical divisions dedicated to studying them. We had intelligence officers who did nothing but analyze human special operations doctrine. We built simulations. We ran war games. We were, by every metric my species understands, prepared. We were not prepared for what happened at Threshold Colony. Threshold was a mining settlement. Nothing strategic, nothing that should have drawn elite units. My sensors picked up a single human transport ship, not a warship, a cargo hauler with minimal shielding, descending into the colony's outer ring. No stealth signature. No jamming. They didn't even bother hiding. I remember thinking, this is beneath their special forces. This must be regular infantry. A resupply run, maybe a routine patrol. I was right. And that was the moment I understood we had never actually met the humans' best. We had only ever fought their worst. What came off that ship were 41 soldiers in unremarkable grey armor, carrying weapons that were, by Kryven standards, primitive, kinetic rifles, not even calibrated for void combat. Their commanding officer was a man named Captain Caleb Owen, and I know his name because I intercepted his comm chatter for the 11 hours that followed, and I have not been able to forget a word of it since. Threshold Colony was garrisoned by 200 of our best-trained soldiers, dug into prepared defensive positions supported by 3 orbital defense platforms. On paper, it was not a contest. On paper, 41 humans with rifles do not walk into a fortified position and walk out again. They did not walk out. They walked through. I watched the feeds afterward, back at Aurelia 9, replaying them until my analysts begged me to stop. The humans did not move like soldiers executing a plan. They moved like something that had already decided the outcome and was simply waiting for reality to catch up. When our forces opened fire from the ridgeline, the human unit split into 3 teams without a single word of command. I checked the audio logs twice to be sure, and flanked from angles our defensive AI had calculated as statistically unlikely. Statistically unlikely is not the same as impossible. Humans, I would learn, live in that gap between the two. Captain Owen took a plasma round to the shoulder in the first 4 minutes. I heard him say calmly over the comm, "I'm still up. Keep moving." Not a command laced with fear. Not a request for reinforcement. A simple statement of fact, delivered the way you might mention the weather. By hour 3, our garrison commander, a decorated officer named Valor, veteran of the Corvid campaigns, requested orbital support to level the colony rather than continue ground engagement. That is what we do when we are afraid, Valor told me later in the debrief I conducted before his court-martial. We reach for the biggest weapon available and we stop counting the cost. The humans never did that. Not once in 11 hours did they call for orbital fire, though their ship had the capability. They fought at the same scale they'd arrived at, as if using anything larger would have been impolite. By hour 7, our garrison had lost 60% effective strength. The humans had lost 3 soldiers. 3. Out of 41 against 200 entrenched defenders with air superiority. I want you to understand what broke me was not the casualty ratio. Kryven doctrine accepts unfavorable ratios when the strategic objective demands it. What broke me was listening to the recovered black box audio from their transport and hearing them joke. Actual laughter between engagements, while a colleague was being treated for a wound that would have ended most soldiers' fighting capacity. One of them, a young man, barely more than a boy by their aging standards. Call sign Gabriel. Asked Captain Owen if they'd be back in time for something called a barbecue. He said if he kept his head down, sure. They were discussing dinner plans during what my own command staff had classified. 3 hours into the engagement as a Class 1 extinction-level threat to the garrison. At hour 11, the remaining Kryven defenders surrendered. Captain Owen accepted the surrender personally, walked the line of kneeling soldiers, and this is documented. This is real. I have watched the footage more times than I can count, knelt down next to our wounded garrison commander and applied a field dressing to his wound himself. Enemy combatant. Wound. His hands. No hesitation. I sent the full report up the chain that night with a single line appended at the top. One that got me summoned before the War Council 3 weeks later. We have been fighting Earth Special Forces for 6 years. Threshold Colony was not Special Forces. Recommend immediate reassessment of the human threat matrix. Recommend further that we consider negotiating from a position other than strength, because we do not currently possess one. The Council did not want to hear it. Command culture rarely does. But I had seen what 41 regular soldiers could do to 200 prepared defenders, and I had heard what they sounded like doing it. Steady, almost bored, treating annihilation as a Tuesday. 6 months later, the Compact signed the Threshold Accords. I was in the room. Captain Owen was there too, out of uniform, standing quietly near the back, like he had somewhere better to be. Before the signing, I asked him, through a translator, because I wanted to hear it in his own cadence, what made his soldiers fight the way they did. No fear, no hesitation. No escalation past what the moment required. He thought about it for a moment, the way humans do when they're deciding whether an answer is worth giving. "We're not the scary ones," he said. "You should hope you never meet the ones who volunteered for the hard jobs. We're just the guys who showed up for work. I have commanded fleets that broke 3 empires. I have never been more afraid of a sentence in my life.